of the Bleed Blue Daily Show. I am Paul, joined by Jaden. We got a little bit of a late start today. I think we were both running behind, and so here. Hey, the notification went out. I saw it, by the way. Like last time we said, "Hey, did you see it?"
I saw it this time. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know what happened yesterday with that, but I mean, I felt like we had a bunch of people watching, so it was kind of totally fine and normal anyway. So, happy Thursday. It is the Thursday before a game. Fix the camera a little bit. Thursday of game week for Kentucky football. We are back in the swing of things. All kinds of weirdness going on around that. Also, I don't know if you saw this, the crying rant from Jay Williams. I don't know if you've had a chance to see that one yet.
I liked it to save it for when I could be home because I went to a concert last night, so I saw some things like in a concert venue waiting for it to start, and so I was waiting for it. I was waiting to come back, and I liked it. Never remembered to go back to it, but I'm excited to hear what he had to say because he said they're the greatest team that Duke's ever had during halftime or something like that. Best team since 2001. Something ridiculous.
He's basically crying about Cooper Flag and everything. It's yeah, it's just,
what did he think about, what was kind of like the gist? What was he saying about Cooper Flag?
Hang on, I might be able to play it.
Oh, that would be awesome.
All right, here we go. Hang on. Let's see. I can share the screen. And let me know if you can hear it.
Oh, it's not even in ESPN. I was waiting for the ESPN cry, like the post game ESPN thing, because we went live.
Big Blue Nation. First off, I hope you guys appreciate that after the win you guys had against my Duke team last night on SportsCenter, live on ESPN, right after the game, even though there's a massive damn picture of Cooper Flag behind me, I decided to give credit to the team that actually won the game. I decided to give props to Mark Pope and his squad for a team that had nobody on their roster, bringing in transfers, fifth-year guys, and gave them kudos for how they executed down the stretch because they deserved it.
Yeah,
let me put you on to something. Whether you like it or not, networks are going to sell Cooper Flag. He's going to be the first pick in the draft. You're going to talk about whether he won the game or whether he lost the game, regardless of the outcome. Because you're going to market him for a product that needs to attach themselves to something that is marketable and that can cut through, because Cooper Flag can cut through. So I get it. You're not going to like it. That's what the media does. There should be more kudos and props to Mark Pope and to Kentucky. That ain't the reality of the world we live in, y'all. Think about last night. NBA Cup's going on. Nike, they're brilliant at marketing, right? Just do it. So Giannis has 59 points. Look how they go after Jaylen Brown. We already know about the issues between Jaylen Brown and Nike, right? The whole Giannis thing with the handshake. Jaylen Brown calls him childish. He's a child. And then Nike comes out with a tweet. Yeah, that 59 looks childish, doesn't it, Jaylen? It's called marketing. It's called selling. So regardless of whether you like it or not, Big Blue Nation, media networks are going to sell Cooper Flag. Get ready. Regardless of whether you won the game or not, they're still going to sell Cooper Flag because he's selling the sport. Sorry.
He's talking like he has some like revolutionary. Well, I don't even understand what the point is. They talk about Cooper Flag a lot. Like, yeah. I don't know what is he trying to say?
All he looks like is a former Duke player crying. That's all he looks like. I mean,
first of all, if he says my Duke Blue Devils, why is he covering the team at halftime?
Yeah, that's something that I don't understand. That I mean, I get it. Like I totally understand. Yeah, it's interesting because I mean it's kind of like the aspect. I don't think it's necessarily the part about Kentucky fans not thinking that people are going to talk about Cooper Flag. I think it's the aspect about Kentucky fans are like, hey, why don't you?
Well, Paul's gone.
Sorry. It's like, why don't you show us a little more freaking respect, right? Like I got to get a new like adapter because if I touch it, it's just so sensitive. So like, I think that's the aspect of it. Like, I think it's the Kentucky fans want to get respect and not necessarily about Cooper Flagg and everything like that. That's just my take.
I mean, if you want to like talk to or watch the actual, like not ESPN and Jay Williams talking, like I guess it is still ESPN, but like Borzello put us in the top 10, CBS put us in the top 10. We're top 20 KenPom now. Like the people who actually like do this stuff beyond talking on TV and trying to get clicks, the people who like run the numbers and actually watch most of the teams instead of being on a TV set the whole time, they have all given us like the respect. But I mean, they talk about Cooper Flagg too because he's the best freshman in the country, maybe like one of the best players in the country. But there are plenty of people talking about how great Kentucky is. It's just not Jay Williams. And my advice to Kentucky fans would be stop listening to Jay Williams.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Jay Williams was also a little butthurt the fact that Duke lost the game, and he was at halftime. Yeah, he was hot. He was knob slobbering all over him at halftime, and they choked the game away. Oh, this is great. It's Duke T. Listen, the thing I think about Jay Williams and other people like that is the fact that, like, just look at the landscape of college basketball. This is not something that's hard to see. Freshmen are not dominating things in college basketball. Look at Arkansas last night. Now, they won. They have more talent, but boy, it sure didn't look good for about 35 minutes, or not. Maybe it wasn't 35 minutes. It was more like 30 minutes. But I feel like that's a really weird thing to do. Someone actually jumped in the text thread and said, and Cooper Flagg will forever have Elba beside his name when it comes to UK. That is 100% accurate. Also, if you guys are listening, you want to jump in on the text line, it's 859-420 or 412-2090, just in case you guys want to send a text in. You can ask questions. You can also get involved in the chat. I think you can do that on Twitter too. You just got to open the actual, like, click on the video and do like the big screen. And then there's a comment box, also Facebook, YouTube. Actually, I don't think you do it on Facebook. Yeah, you can do it on Facebook. YouTube is very easy as well. So if you want to get engaged there, it is the aspect of the media, the narrative, right? It's kind of like Kentucky came in and hit the darling, and it was really bad. We were listening to it, and it was like the slobbering over Duke was disgusting for about 30 minutes of that game. And then what did Kentucky do, right? Kentucky comes in and just absolutely jumps all over them the last 10 minutes, and they have to eat their narrative. I think that's ultimately what fans are talking about.
Yeah, it's every single Duke game that's ever been broadcasted has a bias on the commentators towards Duke because all of the ESPN guys went to Duke or like Duke. It's just something that you got to get used to. I kind of want to go back to the freshman point though, because freshmen still work.
But it doesn't. But it doesn't. Look at the Final Four teams.
I mean, UConn had the number 3 picks or the number 2 pick starting for them. Like, the freshmen still work. It's just not the way Calipari does it anymore.
Right. Yes. Freshman. Yes. That's also what I mean. Like, you're not going to see 4 or 5 one and done guys starting on a college roster and going to a Final Four.
It also, there is a big gap in some of the types of freshmen that there are in the world. Like the early Cal years, we got all of the like elite freshmen, except for like Andrew Wiggins. Like all of the guys that made a difference, we got them. We're just the last whatever many years of Cal's teams, we didn't get the like elite guys. So if they're elite, then you can have more freshmen. The problem is there's only
Aaron Bradshaw, the number 1 player in the country.
Building a team out of elite freshmen, you're not going to get all 4 of the elite ones.
Yeah, but wasn't Aaron Bradshaw like top 5?
I don't really care about the ranking. Cooper Flagg is a different number 1 prospect than whoever was number 1 last year.
But what, like, so I see that, but I still go, but why? Like, I'll just be honest. I didn't think watching the kid. I didn't think he was hands down so much better than a ton of other players I've seen come through college basketball. I didn't see it. I don't think physically. I mean, look, at the end of the day, he's not physically matured. Maybe I'm not saying he's can't go be a good player. I mean, or anything like that. But I did not see that night what the level, like the LeBron type hype was. But also you saw that with Andrew Wiggins, right? A lot of people were like, and Andrew Wiggins is LeBron. And he never
someone is an elite prospect. Just because someone doesn't work doesn't make them not an elite prospect.
Yeah, but I mean, I get it.
I'm not saying that's what you're saying. I'm saying I think people a lot of times think that. So if it's a lot of time with quarterbacks. If there's a quarterback that is a really good prospect but doesn't work, that doesn't mean that he wasn't a good prospect. That means it didn't work in the NFL. There are a lot of bad prospects that work all the time.
It's not even fair to
Flag
the kid.
Is an elite prospect.
I mean, look, he's a good player. I won't dog him and say, oh, Flag sucks and everything. I just don't see. I don't even see elite. I didn't think he did anything that was out of the ordinary. I don't think he did anything that I haven't seen before in college basketball in the last 10 years. Now Zion, I would put Zion was a freak, right? Zion Williamson was an absolute freak of nature. And that's what I think of. When I think of an elite talent, I think of Zion, right?
I am excited to see the analytic numbers at the end of the year because they do the freshman efficiency ratings and things of that nature. And it's always Zion, AD. And then for a little bit, it was Reed Shepherd. But he ended up falling off as things went down. But it's Zion and AD and then everyone else. Flag has that kind of analytic numbers. Outside of until the last 2 minutes, I mean, he was by far the best player on the court, not even close analytics wise. For both,
he was also the only offense they had all night, consistent.
That's a Duke problem, not a Flag problem.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I get that, but he also took a lot of shots. He took 20 shots. I mean, college basketball is not designed for guys to take 20 shots in a game. If you take 15 to 20 shots in a game and you're not on, that's not necessarily the greatest aspect in the world. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not.
The problem with Flag at the end was John Shire told him to go one-on-one every single play. He missed a bunch of shots right at the end. And there were possessions where he had the ball in his hand 12, 15, and 20 seconds in a row before shooting. There was with no movement, nothing going on. Shire to me got absolutely outclassed by Pope.
Oh yeah,
last 6 minutes especially just because Pope kept running offense. We didn't get to talk about it yesterday. The best play for me from Pope was they ran the kind of the zoom thing, where they do the 3-man action in the corner where they sometimes go zoom, sometimes they just run dribble handoffs. They go to that, but they put Maluach and Knipple in the action. They put 2 freshmen and the sophomore in the action with a bunch of old guys, Carr and Ortega, and I think Brea. And Ortega slips it, and we kept running offense in the last 4 minutes. They went to Cooper Flag, please save us. I don't want to call a play. That was the coaching difference that I saw. Outside of we talked about,
they were running. They also couldn't execute the offense that they were running against. Our defense started clamping down and playing a lot better. It turned into we saw that it was almost like you said, it was almost like a 2-man zone and everyone else was man. And then at the end you saw a lot of help side defense, the man closest to the ball with covering the other man was almost like a help side defender. And it was glorious to see because their offensive sets, they were getting no spacing, right? Everything they got in the last 10 minutes was one-on-one.
Yeah, the play was you flag the ball, everybody else get the rebound. That was the offense in the end for Duke. And we did not do that. We'll see if that works every single game, close game, because scramble situations don't always allow for plays, but
right.
It was exactly what you needed to do to take advantage of what Kentucky had in the maturity, and they used it to a T.
And this is kind of what I mean about college basketball and the youth versus experience movement we've seen over the last 5 years. teams that rely heavily on guys that are young tend not to succeed the way they used to, right? I think you're probably like that 2017 year and back. The one and done was big, obviously, right? 2010 for us, 2012, a couple other seasons like, that we made the Final Four. But now you're starting to see a lot more of that shift and transition. And I think it has to do with a couple things. It has to do with conditioning, right? Like physical maturity, but also just playing a lot more basketball and things. You get comfortable, right? You get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm not saying, anything, I'm not saying anything like Cooper Flagg didn't X, Y, or Z, but it's just the reality of the situation, right? And that's where I feel like Kentucky is very good. And ultimately, we kind of got away with the conversation of just talking about the fact that Jay Williams was just crying like a little baby about everything. And okay, you want to talk about Cooper Flagg gets marketed? Cool. You want to know what else gets marketed? Teams with no names that end up slaying people, because you can market all you want, one player. But I'm going to tell you right now, if Kentucky starts doing something special this season, like really starts doing special stuff, you're going to see a narrative around a team like this too. And you're going to probably see people who don't usually root for Kentucky who might actually be like, you know what? I kind of like this team. This team's it's not a team you really dislike outside of Kirk Kriisa, who I think everybody wants to punch in the head.
When you were saying that, it reminded me a little bit of BYU football this year, where it's like, nobody really thought they would be good. They probably shouldn't be good. Just off talent, but there's like Team of Destiny vibes, and it all works perfectly.
Yeah, but I feel like
so everyone's like, people are jumping on the BYU bandwagon because they're fun and it's unexpected. I think there could be a little bit of that with Kentucky nationally.
I think Kentucky's got more talent, like actual legit talent, than BYU does.
Yeah, probably. But
I mean, if you look at UConn's didn't UConn's roster last year, they have like 1 5-star? Like technically, didn't they only have 1 5-star?
Well, it was Klingon was a 4 or 5, depending on where you looked at, but he was back for his second year, and then Stephon Castle was
but they're not. But they weren't a bunch of dudes. Yeah, they weren't a bunch of blue chip guys.
Right? Yeah, but they had an elite one, and that's what made them different. If you have an elite freshman, you should the elite freshman's the way to go if they're elite. If they're not elite, they're a rotational piece.
Right. If you have one elite freshman with a lot of experience, then that's totally different. I 100% agree.
With Knipple, not Flagg.
Yeah, he disappeared in the second half.
If he is not what we saw in the first 2 games, then they're not going to be that good, because he is what makes them different. Without him, it's a bunch of old dudes and Cooper Flagg, and we've seen a bunch of old dudes in the 1-star freshman. Running a freshman sets with non-freshmen. I don't know that I'm not articulating that point as well as I would like to. But there's a reason that Pope is recruiting the elite freshmen still.
Yeah,
because if you have the elite freshmen, they are the difference makers.
Foundationally, you need it, right? Like you need it foundationally for growth, because turnover, right? I mean, look, I don't think anybody's expecting like Malachi to be a 1-year player, right? I think probably Jasper. I don't know. I mean, I think Jasper's probably the one you look at and say, hey, that's probably like a guy who's more so the one and done. If he, if his game develops and he kind of, keeps moving forward. But you gotta have that mix. And, look, hopefully Kentucky breaks the mold around stuff like that. Right. Like, next year that we have some freshman guys that play and we don't end up in that role. But who knows?
And here's what's encouraging. Well, just one more thing on the freshman is the Caleb Wilson interview. He, with sources say, he broke down like all the teams, and he said about Arkansas, Cal wants me to be the creator. Cal wants me to run things. That is how you build a team around freshmen and it doesn't work is you make the freshmen be the superstar when they are not the superstars. Right. Caleb Wilson here will be a defensive menace and kind of an Ortega situation where he, is a slasher, gets to the rim and finishes things, and then some catch and shoot. Like there is a difference in freshman philosophy, even though we're getting the elite guys. Caleb Wilson's probably a one and done. He's not going to be treated as if he is the only player on our team. And that is how you use the freshman with the elite skills.
And it's also, I also think what Pope does offensively is a little bit easier for players, right? It's kind of like a run and shoot, so it's less thinking. And I mean, I'm sure it's definitely got thinking to it. But I feel like
once they get into the sets, once they get to the sets, way too much thinking, so much thinking. But yeah, I mean, it's like they're.
Ben said he watched UConn last night. They didn't impress him a ton.
UConn hasn't impressed me a ton either.
There's two ways to think about it. There's two ways to think about it too, right? Like Kansas City didn't impress anybody for the first half of the season last year, and they won the Super Bowl. They could be like that. They could be that team that is got a little bit of coast mentality, might need to get punched in the mouth to kind of wake up a little bit when you won 2 in a row. Maybe. I feel like they're one of those teams that are either gonna take a step back or just bite you. Like, oh yeah, they're down, they're ready for the taking, and then just come in and play someone, just beat the brakes off of them.
Yeah, it looks a little different than the last couple of years, and there is a bigger turnover situation. I know they had a lot of turnover between the 2 championships and still won it, but yeah, they lost very hard to replace pieces this offseason. Like Stephen Castle and Klingon are very there's not a lot of those kind of players out there. It looks different this year with them. But Hurley is probably the best coach in the country. So I trust that they will at least be good and at least be a contender at the end of the season.
I remember a couple names in there. Aiden Mahaney, Liam McNeely, 2 guys that
Aiden Mahaney was the St. Mary's guy, and then McNeely was the recruit from Indiana.
McNeely had 15 last night. Aiden Mahaney had 4. They had a lot. Their scoring is look, they still have.
It's very spread out.
Yeah, but they have Alex Caravan. I mean, that guy's played a lot of basketball.
Yeah, Caravan is good. But that's what I'm saying. Caravan is much more of a star this year, name wise for them than this year than he was. I don't know. It looks different. I don't know exactly how to say it, but I think Ben is right. It does look. It looks, and that's probably just growing pains, to be honest with you.
He also said UConn's schedule doesn't have any really challenging games until 25, which I don't think they play. Do they have I think they have 1 game, don't they?
I haven't looked at their schedule at all.
I thought they had 1 game where they play someone decent, but maybe I was looking at somebody else. So they play Baylor. Oh yeah, they got Baylor December 4th. Yeah, they got a couple. They play Baylor on the 4th. They play Even Xavier is not necessarily an easy game. Historically Xavier's decent, but yes, they do play that. Texas was preseason top 25. They lost, but that could be a tough game. I think they're on the road there. And then Baylor and Gonzaga.
Texas. I'm trying to see if it's neutral or not.
They play Gonzaga a week after we play them.
Yeah, they played Baylor, Texas, Gonzaga, Xavier, and there's a game before all that, but Memphis is before that. So they play pretty good.
Are we? Do we think Memphis is any good this year, though?
They're going to be better than some of those.
They barely beat Missouri and barely beat UNLV. Not saying UNLV is not.
They're probably better than Wright State and Army.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying UNLV historically has a decent program, so I'm not.
They're at least
Ben said Baylor is super questionable this season. I honestly thought they'd come out hot. They get blown out, then they beat Arkansas. I think there's a couple teams, and maybe UConn's the one that we add to that list of are they actually as good as we think they might be? I don't know the answer to that question just
yet. You want to watch another freshman not being used right? Watch Baylor and BJ Edgecombe.
Oh yeah, remember when VJ Edgecombe, like people were all about him. They were like, "Oh, he's going to come here." And
yeah, he'd be awesome here.
But look, I think a lot of players
don't have the spacing for him. They don't have the spacing for him. It doesn't. The roster just doesn't work. And I thought they would be in the Final Four, and then I watched them play, and it just doesn't. They can still do it.
There's also a lot of basketball left. There's also a lot of basketball left, and you have teams like that look. They have guys that have Final Four experience on that roster. If they can figure that out, they've got talent and experience. It's also a team that I would not necessarily want to play as like a 6-7 seed in a tournament.
Oh no, I don't want any part of Baylor at all in any situation. They are better than their seed is going to be.
What do you think about Auburn? Auburn going in and beating Houston.
They look pretty good. They look good on paper too. Auburn's spooky. They scare me a little.
Auburn does look like the part this year.
Broome looks like a matchup problem. Not a matchup for Amari, but like he looks like the kind of player that would throw a wrinkle in things and like throw off our rhythm of things. Because he's like Maluach, but mobile. So like that feels like something that we would not want to face. I don't know. But obviously there's a lot more.
Auburn's surprising him, but he thinks they might have locker room issues. What was it, the fight on the plane that gave it away?
Yeah, they had a fight on the plane and then beat one at Houston. So I don't care about the fight.
Look, sometimes like that is multifaceted, right? Huh?
Sometimes you need to fight in the locker room.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen national championship winning teams that it's more so in football than it is basketball. You don't hear about it in basketball a ton.
The Chiefs were fighting in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Kelsey, Mahomes, and Reed.
It all depends on if it's turned into positive or a negative, right?
Yeah, it's the work that you built all offseason building a team that decides whether or not that can be productive or not.
Correct.
And at least so far, it appears that was productive for Auburn.
I mean, they won, right? So the distraction and everybody was talking about it, and they went down and beat Houston in Houston. So I feel like that's you got to throw some stuff that way, right? Like that if nothing else, either they were like, F it, we're just not going to do it, and maybe it manifests itself through the season, or they're just mentally strong. But look, Auburn's also an older team, right? They have a lot more of ability to shut things out, and I feel like that trend's not going to not continue this year. I think you're going to see older teams again really establish and move forward, and really be the teams that are the ones left standing at the end of the season.
Yeah, well, the problem for the freshman class this year is, one, it was terrible outside of flag, and two, like most of them are on one team that's not built very good. So like and by most of them, I mean all the Arkansas guys. If nobody caught that.
Ben asked, "What do you think about Alabama basketball?"
Anybody with Mark Sears is a contender. That dude. I mean, he can score 40 every single game. So like they always have a chance, and
they haven't looked amazing though. I mean, they haven't looked amazing outside of Asheville, right? Arkansas State. I mean, I don't know. I'm just looking at final scores, so I mean, they could have been worse. McNeese State won by 8. Arkansas State won by 9. I think you find out a lot more about Alabama tomorrow. They go. I don't know if it's at Purdue or it's a neutral site game.
Well, Purdue's big guy broke his leg, so it's not the same Purdue.
Sure, but if they're going to Purdue, it's still going to be. I mean, Purdue basketball is not necessarily the easiest place to go play. So that's what I'm.
Oh yeah, no, they're still good. I'm more saying for the listeners, like put a touch of an asterisk on Purdue's ranking in that game because the guy broke his leg. Unless that ended up not being the case, but that was.
Yeah, they're playing at Purdue, so I mean, look, either way, it's going to be it'll be a good test for Alabama. We'll see probably a little bit more about what Alabama's made of, because look, you know this in basketball. You play at home, you have one guy out, you plan for something, you don't know how they're necessarily going to play, and you're the first team that kind of gets caught because of it. We've seen it before ourselves, right? I'm not saying that's going to happen. I wouldn't pick Purdue in the game, but I think it's at least going to be a good, like, little, okay, like, you know, if Alabama walks in there and wins by 25, you're like, oh, all right.
Purdue probably will still make the tournament. Like, at large. So
they also go. They also
play a competitive. It's at least a competitive team.
They play Illinois. They play Houston. They play North Carolina. They play Creighton. And then they start SEC play. So those are like they
always have a tough schedule.
At least they play a lot of teams. So I mean, there's definitely a lot that you'll see before you get into SEC play.
Yeah. Is there anything else basketball that's been of note?
Not that I'm aware of.
You gonna transition to football then?
We can. Ben said my mic is buzzing a little bit. I don't know. I think I just turned the volume down. I don't know if that helped a little bit. Might have just been the volume was cranking on the box, and I didn't really look and see. Do we have to talk about football?
Well, we don't have to talk about the game, but there's like news stuff going on.
Yeah. The quarterback situation. So, it's odd. Like someone texted us last night and said, "Hey, I don't think Brock's starting. He might not play. Like the injury was bad." Then you saw like Roush, I think it was Roush. They said like the injury looked really bad, but I think Brock's going to start. So I think it's all right. Thanks, Ben. You said the mic's good now. So I don't know. I don't know if maybe like the person who sent that, and like it wasn't malicious, right? Like you sent it to us, and he's a trustworthy person. He's around the program, right? Like okay. And
so I'll say so when the
I don't care that much, but it's just weird.
When the stuff about him playing now started getting posted, that was I think an individual scoop for Gagan, because Roush and Luckett were live when they found out this news. They didn't have it. So like I think everybody is a little bit of like, I don't even know if the program totally knows.
Yeah, I think everybody is going to be very surprised if Brock even plays Saturday. I don't. And look, there has been things that I think a lot of people haven't said, and I'm not trying to say we're the only ones that know this, because I know for a fact we weren't. That the injury around Brock, a lot of people just weren't saying things until later in the week because they didn't want. Look, he's a college kid.
There's zero reasons to say how injured he is.
Yeah, exactly. There was no point. It's not like we're playing a top 10 game here that has SEC title implications, right? Like Kentucky should be able to beat Murray State with me playing.
I would beat Murray State at quarterback.
Correct. So I think the surprise is where, like, I don't even know if he's practiced I don't know if he's practicing today for the first time. If yesterday was the first time, I don't know. There's some conflicting reports, and I'm just not running with the stuff because everything, like, if I hear one thing, another thing's out there. So it's kind of just like, like, don't put the fodder out there because you're trying to just keep people informed, because it's all kind of conflicting right now. I think you're right. I think even some of the more, I think even some of the guys that are a little bit more in the know, or a little bit that are more in the know than we are about stuff, even what seem a little surprised by this. It could just be, you could say it could be gamesmanship, but why the fuck are you going to do gamesmanship against Murray State? Like, I don't understand why you would do that. I mean, maybe the only way you're doing that is if you're trying to throw off a week from now from Texas and you're trying to say, oh, he's going to play, and then he doesn't play. And then you're like, oh, we're just holding it back. And then Texas prepares for him and you throw somebody else out. I don't know. Like, to me, it's odd. I think, look, Stoops talks to the media tonight at 5. I'm going to try and go, but there's something else happening. So maybe you are going to do that. We'll see. We'll see who covers
it. I was going to say I could go.
So we'll see who covers that. Yeah, we'll talk about that offline. But it's just odd, right? Like the things that I heard with why I didn't really doubt the fact that Brock probably wasn't going to play. And then there was that caveat of maybe he doesn't play the rest of the year. Okay, maybe he doesn't. And now it's like, oh, he's going to play. I think everybody's a little surprised, like, because that injury did not look good. Everybody's kind of like heard like things like they're like, and look, the kid's been banged up all season. It's not like he's played healthy. He's not been healthy all season, period.
Getting a minor injury there could have potentially been the best thing for him to like actually make him sit down and heal.
Yeah, to me,
but it might not be a minor injury.
To me, I feel like if he's not 95%, you don't play him, because I understand, it's a game that maybe we could get him in more rhythm, right? We could get like get more of a flow. I understand that. I understand the concept there, but if he's banged up, why risk it? Like, why risk a Murray State guy coming across the edge and falling into his knee or something, and something really bad happening if he does play? I don't know. I don't know how accurate any of this is. I mean, like, even when I started sharing stuff, I mean, there's people were just like, man, like, nobody has said that. So I don't know. I mean, look, we're new to this. I don't know. Like, it's not like we're insiders. We just know some people about some stuff that we find some information about. That's why we don't talk about everything. But I don't know. It just, everything seems weird and everybody seems kind of surprised about it. I'm not worried about. I'm more worried about it in the aspect. I feel like if he's not healthy, why risk him? But at the same time, if Gavin starts, I'm not mad about it. I mean,
it's a disaster. that room is a disaster.
Well, the QB room.
Yes, just the whole situation, how it's all been handled, the way everything has gone this season, disaster. They have no idea what they're doing.
I don't know about a disaster. I just think that we've had is it the QB room or is it other position groups like the offensive line that's not playing?
I'm not talking about exactly on field. I'm just talking about the way it's ran and all these things. Like the whole 2 quarterback thing was ridiculous.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Starting Gavin, like playing Gavin in the second half against Auburn, like, and then like kind of saying Brock was hurt, but then like kind of saying that the plan was to just go with Gavin. Like, that was dumb. Throwing Cutter in against Florida, probably dumb.
Yeah, but that didn't matter. The game was over there. I got no problem throwing Cutter in at the end there. Like at that point, game's over. Like, let him see a jersey that isn't Kentucky. Like, I had no problem with that.
Yeah, he threw all of them.
Huh?
He threw to the other points.
Yeah, I know. His first pass was a pick 6, but I mean, at the end of the day, who cares? I mean, honestly,
that was a little bit of a that lined up too well for me. I had to say that. I like Cutter. Cutter's really good, but he's young.
To me,
it just doesn't. It feels like they're like.
Ben said, "Do you think this would be Stoops last season?" And I will tell you, if you made me bet, I would say no.
No.
I would say absolutely not. We kind of talked about it on Monday. He was pretty adamant of, well, I mean, I'm not retiring, right? Like, what's the chance of you retiring, walking away, and all this? And he said 0%. I agree with that. I actually do agree with that. I think that narrative and what people were trying to push, and some of those people talking about it, were just trying to get. I think that was engagement farming for a lot. There's no shot I think Stoops was going to do that. I do think that I would not say that the chance of Stoops leaving is 0, right? We've kind of talked about this. I don't think it's 0. I think it would have to be, he's going to be back. He's going to take another job, or there's going to be enough of a buyout with maybe some compensation there, over time, that would attract him to go, okay, maybe this is the right time to at least step away. But if you think it's like hanging it up kind of a thing, I don't think that that's going to happen. I think it's going to have to be, it's one of those 3 things will happen.
Whether he gets bought out or not, or whatever the terms are of that, he will be a college football coach next season, no matter it's somewhere. There's zero situation where he's not the head coach of a college football team next year.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I could see him not coaching next year. I mean, if Kentucky goes, here's $44 million, which I would feel like I would fall out of an airplane, because I feel like that's just so insane. I don't feel like that's going to happen. But if they did, what would you do? I'd take the year off. He's not getting $44 million. Like, it doesn't matter.
The only people that can pay that are Joe and Kelly Craft, and he's best friends with them. They're not paying him $44 million to not be friends anymore.
I don't even think the Crafts want to give him $44 million.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. They're best friends. There's no situation where they're doing that. They're the only people that can do that.
Yeah.
So, like, there's no point. He's not taking a deal either. Like, he's just going to coach somebody else for less money, get his buyout over time. We'll pay the difference in the buyout and the current contract he has. Like, I don't see a situation where he's not a college football coach next year.
If he did leave,
somebody who may leave. Brad White?
Yeah, that's now being talk about that he might get really heavy consideration for Florida State.
He was on the hot list, and in the middle of the quarterback breaking news that Luckett talked about how specific the information was. And I hadn't noticed that at first, but the information on Brad White is so much more specific than the information on the rest of the coaches on that hot list. And it looks like Brad White said it. Maybe that's reading too far into it, but once like I said, I wrote back and I was like, well, it does kind of sound like there's way more in here for Brad White. So it doesn't look good. It's not good.
Is it a money situation? I mean, I don't understand why. I honestly don't know why you would go. I don't know why you would go. Here's my thought process on this, and maybe I'm way out of left field. Why would you leave Kentucky in the SEC to go to FSU, who may only win one game this year, maybe two? I have no clue. Have they won 2 games? I think they're 1-9, right? 1-10. Why would you go to Florida State to a coach who's way more embattled than Stoops is, who's got way more of a chance of not being there, to a team that's got way more expectations, because Kentucky probably can pay you like the same thing that Florida State can, unless Florida State's going to offer them something dumb like 2.5. I don't understand it. Like, if this was an NFL team, I'd get it. But if this is like college going from Kentucky to FSU, I don't see that.
Because one, the defensive roster doesn't look good, at least currently, for next year. Maybe people will make some surprising decisions. There's a lot of people leaving off the defense that is already like falling apart. If he comes back and they have not much talent, we'll get into talent because I'm ready to rant.
But they're not losing as much on the defensive side of the ball as you think they are.
I mean, there's a good amount of seniors. The defensive line has draft picks. Like the linebackers are all seniors. The defense is going to be pretty.
Yeah, but the linebackers are going to still have a lot of experience. They've got some guys behind, and like the defensive line. Yeah, but I mean, okay, so Daion's gone. You're not going to replicate him. But Keyshawn, I don't think anybody else on the defensive line is going to get drafted. And I mean, JJ's out of eligibility.
I wouldn't say Keyshawn getting drafted is a crazy thing. He probably won't, but there's definitely a world where he goes combine, test amazing, and goes like 4th round.
Maybe. He's good. Maybe. But I mean, he's also got the ability to come back one year and then be like a massive pick too, right? So there's that. Most of the cornerbacks, I think, are back except for Max, but Max could be back. Max could be back. I mean, I don't think it's probable, but he could be, especially with all the time he's missed.
Him playing this week is his back. If I were to guess,
maybe look, he could, like, if he comes back, he could come back the next 3 weeks and play really, really well, and it doesn't matter, right? Like, so I'm not saying he's coming back. I'm just saying he could. I don't think he does, but he could.
And that's why I say if there are some surprise returning, like if Max were to come back, things would look very different defensively. But I am assuming Max.
I like our secondary. I think we have a lot. I think the secondaries ended up being a lot better than we thought it was going to be.
They're still sub 100 in a lot of categories.
Yeah, well,
pass defense numbers are not good.
Some of that's also been on the fact that the front seven's been banged up and hasn't been getting pressure on the QB like we were in the first 5 or 6 games. So that doesn't help necessarily either. But that's beside the point. I feel like the defense is not in as bad of a shape as we think it might be, because we also thought that this defense was going to have holes this year, and it ended up being pretty damn good, right? And I think you got guys like Nichols who are going to be here next year unless they transfer, right? Okay, even if you say it's like you lose 5 starters on defense, you got a transfer portal where you can go get 5 playmakers. You've got guys that were out last year that were going to be starters. You've got Young and Josiah Hayes. So you got 2 guys that are going to be back next year that weren't playing this year that we expected to play a lot this year that are going to be difference makers. I don't know. We're going to lose 5 starters, but technically are we going to lose 5 because we literally have 2 guys that could start coming back that just didn't play?
Yes, but the defense.
I mean, Josiah Hayes is not Deion Walker, but
no, it's kind of like I said, replacing Castle and Klingon for UConn. Like, there is nobody in the country except for maybe Mason Graham that does what Dion does. Like, Max is a day one, early day two corner. Like, there's just not a lot of those out there in the world.
Max is not a physical. Max is not a freak cornerback. Like, I mean, he's good, right? But he's playing
freaking coverage.
Yeah, he plays above his weight, right? He does. He plays above. He's not your prototypical NFL sized cornerback. I'm not dogging the kid. I think he's an amazing player, but DJ Waller looks like a prototypical NFL player, right? JQ Hardaway looks like that. Nichols looks like. So I'm not. It's easier to replace a guy that's in a skilled defensive position than it is like you can't teach 6'9", 340 that runs like that, right? Like that doesn't matter. Like there's nothing you're doing there. You're not finding that. It's like Andre the Giant's not walking through the door for the WWE anymore. But it still doesn't matter. Like FSU's been terrible on defense. They haven't been good. Their front seven has been absolutely dominated all season. And I mean, I get it. It's FSU, and you could say all like this, but man, like FSU's got so many problems. Like between the coach crying, between them trying to sue to get out of the ACC, nobody else wants them. It just seems like it's a bad situation to go to. But it's just me.
The second part of him maybe wanting to leave is how many more years does he have the Kentucky job if Stoops were to take the buyout next year? Or if Stoops were to be given the buyout next year, or if Stoops were to leave next year.
But Stoops' buyout
is Florida State available next year? Probably not.
Yeah, but I thought Brad White was being more considered for like head coaching jobs than OC. That's the other thing.
Florida State DC.
Yeah, no, I know. I feel like if Brad White was going to leave, Brad White leaving to be a head coach or a DC in the NFL would be way more of a realistic thing than going and doing a lateral move to FSU. Like if Alabama wanted him, you'd go, all right, or Georgia.
Florida State can win a championship any season. That's not lateral. We can't.
I disagree with that 100%. Florida State cannot win the title every single year. Like they were fool's gold last year. Then they got totally exposed this year. That coach is not won without Jordan Travis.
Maybe not that coach, but like the infrastructure of Florida State is built to be a championship contender every single season.
But I'm not talking, but Norvell is the coach. That is the problem.
Yeah, but he's also shown the ability to take them to be a playoff team. If his quarterback didn't get hurt, they would have been one of the top 4 teams in the country last year.
And they would have gotten. Listen, they're getting boat raced with Jordan.
Would you rather get boat raced in the playoffs or go 7-6?
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm just kind of saying I don't think FSU's. I objectively, and you might think I'm crazy. I think there's a lot of SEC teams that probably are closer to having a playoff run than FSU.
I mean, maybe specifically this year, but if the Kentucky job's not available in a year or two.
But what if he goes there for 1 year and he doesn't win and then he's out of a job? I mean, it's a higher risk.
I mean,
like you have
he'll get paid.
If Brad White at Kentucky, I think if you're looking at all the things there's 2 guys that I think that have a chance. Like if Stoops were to leave, I think you have 2 guys that would potentially you could have that would stay. It's Brad White and Vince Marrow. Those are the 2 guys I think any incoming staff would look at and be like, hey, I want these guys, or would at least have a conversation about wanting to keep them. I don't think Brad White has that in an FSU situation because I think they want to clean house if they get rid of him.
Yeah, but it's still Florida State. And the thing is, in that article, he said he wants to bring personnel with him. So that means either coaches or players. There are pieces of this. There is something about UK that he does not like about what is going to happen in the next 2 years. Because it would not, there wouldn't be personnel he wants to bring with him to a new scenario if there weren't big problems that he was having.
That's more concerning.
There is a big problem somewhere, or else he wouldn't be looking for another job.
I mean, are we sure he's looking, or it's not just hype, media?
There is a list of things he wants if he were to take a new job. there's not a list of what the other coaches want if they were to take a new job.
Yeah, but how do we know that that's accurate?
Trusting Pete Thamel to know what he's doing. I think it was Thamel. It might not have been Thamel. It was. I mean, it was ESPN's article. Like their FSU defensive coordinator hot board. It's not like, yeah, I didn't write it.
Well, look, we've how do I say this politically correct? We've heard rumblings of some things. Nothing that is we would want to put out. If it hits, you are woo. If it doesn't, you look like an idiot. And there's not enough around it, I think, to talk about it. I mean, so maybe that points to some of the stuff that's like in the rumbling position, in the rumbling corner, that maybe there's more to it. Maybe this is a play for him to get a more solidified long-term role at Kentucky. You know,
the only way you could be more solidified is like coach in waiting.
Yeah, hell, God, no. Like, no, hell no.
There's no situation where Mitch is giving him a coach in waiting contract. Like, I think
Mitch
he's kind of at the Cal point where it's like, if you want another job, go take it. There's no more room to negotiate. Like, we pay you a lot of money.
I think Brad White's a little bit different in the aspect he's a top he is a coordinator who would be in demand at other places. Obviously, Stoops is different from that perspective. I think Brad White has more capital to play with. You know, if he thinks he's worth another $500,000 a year, you know, I think if you're going to do that, that's something that I think Kentucky should definitely talk about. I mean, that's definitely 100% there. But at the same time, huh?
They have like they can pay salaries whatever they want.
Would Kentucky go out and get? Let's say Brad White left. Would they go get their old defensive coordinator that was before Brad White that went to LSU?
I hope the hell not.
He was good here.
He was terrible at LSU and terrible in the NFL.
He was good here.
Yeah, but that was, what, 8 years ago now? A lot of things changed in 8 years. We've seen a lot of coaches at this university work 8 years ago and not work now.
Going to be look, this is definitely an interesting offseason no matter what happens with Kentucky football because, look,
Stoops has never gone out of house for a coordinator hire either.
Do what?
Stoops has never gone out of house for a defensive coordinator hire.
That's true. Yeah.
So that would be interesting as well.
Does his brother get it? Maybe.
Shoot me.
Just asking.
But maybe.
I mean, he wasn't like
Roush said Collins would probably be the one that would get if they were to promote one, they would give it to Chris Collins, secondary coach, because he can recruit. But
yeah, but can he call defense? Or are you worried more about Stoops being more of the defensive guy?
I have no idea. That's the name that Roush said if they were to go in house that's what he would do. So, or that was at least what he thought they would do.
Going to be a very interesting offseason, man. Like that's all I got to say. I mean, there's so much that can happen over the next 3 weeks here.
Do we want to note the decommit, Caden Ferguson?
Were you I mean, is that? I mean, I don't feel like that's. It's not one of the guys where I felt terrible about, but it's also I think a lot of it has to do with the now with the rosters being completely different.
Yes, and this is where I mini rant. Kentucky got absolutely screwed by the conference not getting 105 scholarships next season. Now, they're not the only team that got – a lot of teams were operating under this assumption. But Kentucky, like, they got absolutely hosed by the conference not getting 105 scholarships next year. They were banking on getting rid of a lot of people and bringing in a lot of people. Like, Ferguson's not going to be the only decommit because they took some dudes that they only took thinking they had 20 more spots. And I think that they would have liked to keep Ferguson. They probably needed to cut a receiver, and they just took Kissenberry from Boyle. It was probably Kissenberry or Ferguson.
Yeah, but now they can have 20 more walk-ons, though. Like that's the egg. You can have the bigger roster, but they have to be walk-ons.
Nobody's doing that.
Some kids will here's the thing: some of them will do it because they're still going to get a scholarship even if it's academic. You can walk on and still be going on a full ride.
Yeah, I saw that. I think they gave a PWO to a JUCO receiver that is deciding soon. I guess that maybe that's the rank, but like the number 500 player in the country, high 3-star receiver out of Texas that just took a visit to LSU is not going to be a PWO. and that is the player that we just lost. So I think it's unfortunate, but there are a lot of good receiver prospects in this. Like they have a lot.
Kentucky also has to make a big decision on this, and this is the part where it gets interesting. Do you want to bring in freshman guys, or do you bring in do you want more portal? And I think the right answer is probably portal, because you need guys that are going to contribute next year. I mean, you still have to build. Obviously, I think at some point they're going to go to 105. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I think from that perspective, with now teams like Kentucky that have to make that decision, I think you need to go, all right, I'd much rather go with, I think you're going to see more guys leaving Kentucky that are more fringe players this year to make room for guys that can come in and contribute at a higher level. Maybe guys that you wouldn't have seen leave in past years because of this, which is not ideal. I know Stoops really wants to work and build, but I think he understands a little bit more, like, especially at positions where you could, at difference maker positions, you've got to go get difference making players that are in the portal, or else you're just not going to survive.
Yeah, and the biggest problem with all of this is for the last 11 months, they have been planning their roster with those decisions made, and then found out a month before signing day, oh yeah, all those decisions that you made that you've been working on the entire season, screw you. You have to, like, they're gonna more people are gonna decommit from this class. They cannot, like, 20 is gonna be a lot if they want to take the portal class.
It is bullshit what happened. I mean, it is bullshit, and people will spin the narrative. People will spin the narrative like, oh, look at we had a shitty season and the players don't want to play for Stoops anymore, fire Stoops. And look, I understand. Look, half that narrative is probably true. We had a shitty season, all this stuff. They're not decommitting because of this. They're decommitting because of the rules that are absolutely effed. That's the only reason they're decommitting right now. And that's the part that I hope that there's honesty in that reporting. I know Justin Rowland's being pretty honest and fair when it comes to that stuff. He's usually pretty good. We'll be fair from that. I mean, look, if they lose one of their top 10 players, that's a lot more concerning than if they're losing guys that are in the nice to haves than the need to haves, right?
Yeah, the scholarship situation is not going to change the top 10 players. This is more of just the quantity of transfer portal players that they're able to bring in. They're probably going to bring in half as many as they wanted to, and probably half as many as they needed to be good, because they're not going to have the rosters. They're not going to have the rosters.
If we're looking at this roster objectively next season, all right, I'd say there's a good shot Barryon Brown's not here. All right, I would just say I think there's a good chance he's not here, unless something crazy happens over the next 3 weeks. I will preface this: I have zero intel on this. This is a gut feeling from Paul. Has nothing to do. I have no gut, so don't clip like Paul's like saying. I just gut feeling. I feel like he's probably he might be able to benefit from another situation. He's not had a very good season this year. He's got a lot of talent.
Don't do it, Ole Miss. Screw you, Ole Miss. Don't you dare.
Yeah, you would be probably
Tennessee. Don't you dare. Screw you. Don't do it.
Yeah, Michael Barnett.
I will be so upset.
I think you're probably going to see some offensive linemen move out. Running back, I think we're pretty good. I think they've got some good running backs. I think like Demi's gone this year anyway, right? Like he doesn't have anything left. So I think Demi's gone anyway.
But there's a billion running backs. Running back's the last position they should ever look at.
Yeah, and on offense, I think the big thing you just got to look at is and look, I think we actually have good receivers, because I think there's. Like Dane Key maybe or may not be back next year. Like Dane, I think's done enough that he might get a look in the NFL because he's got the size and speed, but maybe not. I think you got to address the offensive line, because the offensive line has to be better. We have to be better in the trenches on the offensive line. That offensive line has been. We can't have an offensive line like that. So that's number one. I think that's the thing on the offensive side.
Money on more transfer portal linemen, because that's worked really well for us. And that's not saying that what you said is incorrect. That is going to have to be the strategy. It's just
they're going to have to.
They're going to have strategy. It's not a good strategy.
Yeah, they have to. I think
because they missed on 3 passes in a row in the offensive line.
Defensively, I think Kentucky needs to go be really aggressive on pass rushers. Because for whatever reason, like we need pass rushers. I think you got to go. I think not everything. I mean, look, Rayner's going to be back next year, and he played linebacker. And Rayner's been really good when he's played. He's gonna be, I think he's got a shot to be really good next year. He came in, he was gonna redshirt, and he played against Tennessee because I think he still had a game or two that he could play because of the injuries.
Yeah, he had one left for Tennessee.
Really good against Tennessee. You've got some younger guys on the linebacker side that can make a jump. You've got Alex Safari. Now you gotta replace Zion. Obviously, now maybe Ty Bryant is a guy that you could play more like him. Maybe. He's got a lot of talent. Yeah, stop. Ty Bryant's not the problem. Ty Bryant's a good player. Is Jordan Lovett gone this year? I think he's a senior as well.
I think the safety room needs a little bit of an overhaul. They got a bunch of good recruits.
Oh, he's a junior. So Jordan Lovett's back. So safety, actually, I don't think we need a lot of. I think I
would prefer an upgrade to Jordan Lovett at safety.
Maybe we get one, but I don't think Jordan Lovett's been terrible this year.
But I think that's where the 105-85 problem is going to be. Is with 105, you can go get a safety that could be an all-SEC guy and unfortunately probably take someone's spot. At 85, you may not have the numbers to afford an extra safety.
But also,
people that you like and people that are good are going to have to leave.
Devil's advocate as well. Jordan Lovett, though, I think has talent where he could take a big jump too. Like
he does have talent.
He's got size and he's physical.
He's been for 3 years and he's the same player. Like he's just not developing.
It's the first year he started.
He still played a lot.
Okay. First of all, he's had some of the biggest hits that we've seen this season. He's had some of the biggest ones. I don't think. Look, if I'm looking at the defensive side of the ball, I'm not going Jordan Lovett's the guy that we need to get. Like we need that. That's the position we got to fix. Because here's the other thing. If you can get more pressure on the ball, the secondary becomes a whole different animal. That's the thing where I think Kentucky needs to focus on going and getting pass rushers. They probably need to go get another linebacker, right? They probably need to go get another guy like Pop, because I think Pop's out, right? Is he done?
Pop should have another year, but I would think NFL for him because he was a freshman All-American and then he got hurt, and then I think it's only his third season because he played as a true freshman. Was freshman All-American. He was an All-American as a true freshman. Oh, he is a senior, so it's his fourth year?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's
unless he's got a COVID year, and I don't know this. I'd have to look in, but let's just assume he's done, right?
Did he medical redshirt this season? He got hurt.
He doesn't have an RS. He'd have a redshirt senior if that was the case.
Maybe he is gone. I thought he was on it.
He's probably gone either way, right? Let's just say Pop's gone. Awesome. So we need a top linebacker. I think Rayner's going to play one of the linebacker spots. I'm comfortable with that. I think they've got some guys that are going to develop and take a step. So linebacker, I'm not as worried about. It's the front. That front four, I think, is where we need to really overhaul. Obviously, Josiah Hayes is a big bump. If Keyshawn Silver comes back, that's a big bump. But you got to go get depth, and you've got to go get guys that can get to the quarterback, because we do not have guys that we do not have guys consistently that can rush the quarterback the way that we need to rush the quarterback. I don't know why that's the case. I feel like we do better almost when we put Dayon on the outside than on the inside. It's weird. I think that he might have that more at the next level.
He would play much more 3-tech. Some of that outside edge stuff if we had defensive tackles on the roster, but all of them are hurt, so he has to play defensive tackle.
Yeah. So yeah. And look, you see the difference between when we had injuries and when we didn't, how that defensive line was playing. They were getting to the quarterback, and now it seems like the last 4 or 5 weeks are not. They have in spurts. I mean, that's the other thing. We got to Nico in spurts. We're getting to him in spurts. We're just not getting to it consistently in this situation. Like, we're not getting to him consistently enough in situations where we need to be consistent. Now, maybe that changes a little bit more because guys are going to get healthy again because we had we had the bye week. Hopefully that's the case, but we'll see. I think you got to go and attack that front four. I mean, look, I look at this team, I look at Kentucky, and I go, I don't feel like they can't be good next year. I think that there's a world where they aren't very good, but I also think that there's a world where they are good. Obviously it all depends on the transfer portal, but I think that there's enough on the roster now that if you go out and get some of the transfer portal, right, and you're going to need 3 to 5 players take a big jump from this year. You need to go get 5 to 7 players in the transfer portal. You're going to have to hit on all of them. And
which they have a bad record of doing.
I mean, Pop, I mean, it's literally the biggest thing we've not done well in the transfer portal with, outside of Will Levis, is quarterback and offensive line.
I just meant transfer portal in general, not specifically defense. They've done pretty good on defense, but overall, they take a lot more offensive transfers.
I mean, I feel like offensively, we've not done terrible in the transfer portal outside of quarterback and offensive line. Now, look, did we do bad at quarterback? I think the jury's still out on Brock a little bit, because when he has time, he's shown he can pick a defense apart. How much of it is on Brock? How much of it is on the offensive line? How much of it is on wide receiver play? I don't know. I feel like there's enough question marks at the 3 levels there that it's hard to kind of put it on one person. We know that the offensive line's not good enough, and it's not been good enough all season. So that's a big red thumb. And then the other 2 levels, I think, is just kind of like, all right, we don't know. Because think about it. Think about the play against Georgia.
I'm trying to look at who the other quarterback options were.
This year? Will Howard. We were talking to Will Howard.
Yeah. Malik Murphy, Cam Ward. But Cam Ward was never going to happen. Riley Leonard was never going to happen.
We were never in for Cam Ward, though.
Jaden Rashada was never happening. Dylan Gabriel was never happening. Kyle McCord is one.
Kyle McCord, I know that was one that we talked about.
There was lots of flirting with Will Rogers, but was that ever real? I didn't feel
real. We flirted with Will Rogers. We also flirted with the guy from Duke, the Texas transfer. Blake Murphy. Will the guy who's the Ohio State quarterback. There was a lot of chatter around him. Will Howard, I
think that's probably a direction that they would have wanted to go had Brock not become available and had Ohio State not
throwing a bunch of money at him.
Yeah. That was probably we had whole stories and breakdowns of him. It felt like somebody had said, this is a guy we want.
It felt like
they had been talking about Brock for 2 years.
He felt like the guy, though. I mean, he did feel like the guy for a long time. I think I don't know. I look, and again, I'm not knocking Brock. The kid's obviously had a lot of talent. Georgia had him. He almost won the starting quarterback job over Carson Beck. So it's not like the kid's not like.
And he committed to Liam Cohen
right now over Carson Beck,
and he committed to Liam Cohen.
Michael Barnett said, "Might have you on the radio with me sometime, anytime. Just we're always down. We've been on the radio many times." I don't know, man. I think on the offensive side of the ball, it's just so much you don't know. You can't really put your thumb on one thing. I think obviously play calling is a big part of it. Execution, because look at the offensive line, and we saw this right against Georgia. We talked about this ad nauseum on that 3rd down play when we threw the ball, and Brock had a guy streaking wide open. He's probably still running today, by the way. And if our O-line, even if he even just clips the guy another half a second, it's a first down, right? He made a great play too. Like, don't take anything bad. It wasn't like the Georgia guy didn't make a good play, but we didn't do shit to stop him. But again, guess what? If we run the ball 3 straight times, maybe we're not in that effing situation. So there's also that. That's why I go to play calling. And it's been really weird because the offensive line this year to me has been very like last year, same thing. Run blocking, pretty damn good. Pass blocking, shit. I don't understand that. I know that like some lines are better than others in terms of different schemes and things are good, but it shouldn't be that astronomically different.
There is a reason
why we don't run the fucking RPO more, because it holds the freaking linebackers and it holds the edge rushers from actually going all the way upfield. I don't know why we don't do that.
In 95, I made that number up. This is not actual stats. This is vibes. 95% of time, if an SEC offensive lineman is in the transfer portal, it's probably because he's bad at something. Every SEC team is going to go to the transfer portal and try to find the offensive linemen that are there. Nobody's given up good offensive linemen. Like the NIL money, they get overpaid for their value because there aren't any. Like at the college level, there just aren't good offensive linemen. At the pros, they can't find good offensive linemen. It's too difficult. The defensive lines are too good. So we got the right side of the offensive line was SEC transfers. They had a big hole in their game. that is why they were in the transfer portal, most of the time. And they're going to have to do the same thing again, unless they go to some of these younger guys. Maybe some weight development on some of the younger guys will work, but they needed a lot of outside bodies, to me, to fill in a lot of holes in recruiting the last couple of years and things of that nature. But
some people did say that, like, I think it was the Florida guy that they were kind of like, was it Muncie? Or no, that's the Tennessee guy. Mincy. I don't think
Florida and Tennessee. Or no, Farmer was Florida and Tennessee. Mincy was just Tennessee.
Yeah. I think that was, they were, yeah. Look, he might still develop, but I know that was the one where a lot of people were like, I don't know if that's going to be a good move. I don't know, man. Like,
he crushes dudes in run block, but he cannot pass block.
No, that's the weird thing, right? Like, our run blocking is phenomenal. I don't know why we don't, like. I know we want to throw the ball. I get it. I can get it. Everybody wants to run it, but you know what? I think every fan would not care about too much this time. Like, go back to the fact and think that you have Benny F and Snell and just give the ball to Wilcox and give the ball to Patterson and give the ball to Demi and see what happens. I'd rather that. Like, honestly, that should be the game plan going to Texas. Try and run it down their throats and then try and hit them with some play action, right? And then hard RPO over the middle to the tight end.
This week, the Murray State defense is brutal. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. They could run every play. Like, if they want to work on some run games, figure out a run games, put some stuff on tape, they could run every.
I would run for 300 on Saturday. I would pass for 300. I wouldn't run. I don't run very much, but I could still throw the ball.
300 is too little.
I could
500.
I'm not. Listen, I'm 5'10".
460.
Me? Nah, I'd throw for 300. My arm would fall off before then, probably.
Oh no, I'm saying, like, what they need to do Saturday, higher than 300. Like,
oh no, I'm talking about me. We're
obviously better, but yes, it feels that way.
I would throw for 300 against Murray State. Watch them beat us.
We're exaggerating a little, but their numbers are absolutely awful.
I will go on the limb and say this. If Kentucky loses to Murray State on Saturday, Mark Stoops will not be the football coach next year, because there's no way that they would let him come back in the stadium. Full revolt.
I'm quitting the company and moving to Alaska if we lose to Murray State.
How about you don't say that? Because this is Kentucky football. Weirder shit has happened.
I mean, it would just keep knocking me down.
I mean, we just shave your head.
Not shave my head. I'd rather move to
Alaska. You'd rather move to Alaska than shave your head?
Maybe. I would have to think about that some more. There's good things in Alaska, maybe sometimes.
We could do something funny. I'm sure. I don't think it's going to happen, but I mean, man, this is why I say this is an interesting week for Kentucky football in a lot of ways, because of it's getting guys back, it's getting healthy, it's getting guys back in the swing of things, getting a win, getting that vibe back. I still think that this team. A lot of people are going to say this is crazy. I still think this team could win out. I think they've shown that they have shown that they play better against the better teams, and all you need is just to have it click for 1 week. I'm not saying it. I would give them a 10% chance.
There have been games in the past where there was like, there's no world. There's a world.
Yeah,
there are a lot of worlds, but there's a world.
If they're healthier, especially on the defensive side of the ball, if the defense is healthy and they get Max back. If the defensive side of the ball is healthy, they can hang and stay in any game with any team in the country. Any team in the country. The defense is that good.
With Max, DJ, De'Eric, JJ, and Dion healthy, they could keep us in a game against Texas.
Oh, absolutely. Because Texas has already shown that they can sleepwalk through things.
Yes. The problem is getting all of those guys healthy.
I think
we have literally not had all season.
JJ's the only one I don't know about. I think everybody else is fine.
Derek's back. I hadn't seen anything about him. I haven't seen anything about any of them other than that.
Derek. Now, maybe Derek might not play this weekend because of, they might precautionarily hold Derek out. I don't know.
Back.
Yeah. But I listen, I believe if this was a game that Kentucky was playing that was a playoff, like you still have to win because you're in the playoffs, I think Derek would play. He might not play because of that. It's kind of the reason why would you play Brock? Because I feel like if we have a chance at Texas, Brock needs to play. If Brock is going to be okay, Brock needs to play. He is head and shoulders the best quarterback we've got. And he started to he's looked good, and his decision making I think's been pretty good in the last couple weeks. He hasn't really been forcing throws. The picks that he's thrown has not been his fault. They've been through hands, and maybe it's not like the most beautiful pass in the world, right? It's in the chest. But if you're a D1 wide receiver and you can't go up, down to the side, or here, if it's in that circle, you've got to either make the catch or it needs to drop in front of you. It can't be up in the air 15 yards where a defensive player can get it, right? I don't think Brock's played horrendously bad this season. I think he's probably gotten a little he hasn't made a lot of throws that make you go, damn, that throw sucked.
Yeah, no, the Brock is not the first thing that needs addressing in the offseason. Not to say that he is perfect. There are big issues, but
because next year you're gonna have
bigger issues.
Yeah, you'll have a guy like Cutter Boley also next year, probably, who's actually going to have more size and everything behind him that maybe if you needed to push him. I don't think Kentucky should go on the transfer portal and get a quarterback unless there's a guy that's like, I want to go play at Kentucky, and he's like he's like a Cam Ward to Miami type guy that is going to make your team just that much better.
Or if Brock were to.
Well, that's beside.
It's Brock or transfer next year to me.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think they give it to Cutter next year. I don't know if that's smart. There's a world where they do. I mean, if you can't get a guy, but I think you're right. I think it's Brock. I think it's Brock or someone but I think if you bring a guy in, it has to be someone like Cam Ward. There's nobody like Cam Ward, but he's
someone who is good, and we know they are good.
Someone who that if they come in, they're going to win you 3 games next year that you probably shouldn't win simply because they're that damn good, right? And they can overhaul any deficiency you have on the offensive side of the ball because of how good they are, how elite their arm is, how good they are with their legs. That's it. I don't know if that guy's out there.
It's a special. Okay, so two problems. Well, maybe not 2 problems, but 2 points. It's a special situation, but Jayden Daniels going from Arizona State to LSU and making LSU from 9-3, or well, I guess they still went 9-3, but it's the same. Well, they improved. I guess
that
they weren't
Jayden Daniels offense problem. That was an LSU defense problem last year.
Yes, the offense went from 9-3 level to a championship contender. The problem is took them 2 years. All most of the elite transfers, it takes them 2 years to figure out. Every now and then you get a guy that it goes from bad schemes fit to good scheme fit. DJU, bad scheme fit at Clemson, good scheme fit at Oregon State, bad scheme fit at Florida State. If they're not uber talented, they need a scheme fit. And so, the guy's got to be either elite or really good with a scheme fit, like Jayden. Well, I guess Jayden Daniels was elite, but at Arizona State, he was considered really good and needed a better environment.
Oh, there's a guy that would be it, probably.
Some on-air speculation?
Yeah, Fafita from Arizona.
If he were to enter instead of going to the drafts, yeah. Or I'm just speaking names. Kansas quarterback, the other Jayden Daniels. I haven't looked specifically at how good he is. I know Kansas is way worse than they were supposed to be, but I mean I will say I have not specifically watched him. That is purely name at a school that's struggling to look to move.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I think I think they're I know that Tulane's quarterback's going to get some looks, I bet. Ty Thompson.
He's going to get a lot of dollars.
Yeah, he'll get a lot of look. Preston Stone, isn't that SMU's quarterback? But SMU's got a lot of money.
Yeah, they have ridiculous money.
But again,
it's not a lot of names. It's hard. But also,
I mean, you never know. You also never know who's just going to jump in, right? Like, I mean, you're going to get a random name. But I mean, if you're looking at that and you're looking at like that, I'm going. I mean, Fifita. I feel like Fifita would be a guy that if he did, you'd go, all right, that's one. That's a dude that could do.
Oh yeah, if you could get Fifita, you would get Fifita. The problem is Miami is going to need a quarterback next year.
Miami's going to get Fifita next year, 100%. If you're looking, if you want to see someone, if Fifita goes in the transfer portal and he's the number one transfer guy, Fifita's going to Miami. I'm telling you, like that's easy because he's our Miami's also.
I wish there was a way to bet on it. Fifita to Miami. I would bet on it right now.
I would. Oh yeah, and Miami, but Miami's locked, stocked, and loaded on offense again next year. Like
if he doesn't go to the draft, that's a caveat. He could just go to the NFL.
Yeah, well, yeah. Cam Ward thought that too. Now look, but like you have a guy like Fifita, and you just saw what Cam Ward
did.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna go get a bag in NIL. You're gonna go play with a stacked roster, and you might be a Heisman. Like Cam Ward's probably gonna win the Heisman.
Maybe, yeah, probably.
I don't think. What's his face from BYU, from Boise State?
Travis Hunter's the one that would take. I don't think Genty's going to end up getting it. He stops putting up 220 yards a game. He only averages like 180.
I think Travis Hunter only gets it if Buffalo wins the Big 12.
If they're in the playoffs. Yeah, they're in the playoffs. If they're in the playoffs, Hunter gets it. If they're not in the playoffs, you start having conversations.
But Cam Ward's still number one. He's still the Heisman favorite. And look, If Miami wins the next 3 games, right, which would be that in the ACC title game, I think Cam Ward gets it.
He probably gets it, yeah.
If Miami wins the ACC and Buffalo wins the Big 12, which I don't know, I still think Cam Ward gets it because his numbers are just he's setting records at Miami, and Miami has had teams that have got that they talk about as the greatest teams of all time. And he broke all those records. So you got to think that that's probably going to be a thing.
Yeah. But he's also like the best corner and like a top 5 receiver.
But I can't wait for the transfer stuff because the shows every day are going to be so much fun because it's just going to be speculating.
It's just going to be new name. I'm just going to go to the new portal website. I don't know. There will be a portal tracker website. I'll go to that every day and I'll say, hey, remember this name from this team? You'll be like, yeah, we should go get that guy. That's what we're going to do for about 3 weeks.
We're going to go get everybody. I'm going
to say that guy. Oh, we got to get that guy. Got to get that guy. There will be 5 quarterbacks. We don't even need a quarterback. And there will be 5 quarterbacks at the end of the portal that we are like all in. Mark Stoops, you want to make a difference? Go get it.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. I hope South Carolina has enjoyed their 2 defensive ends because they're about to go get paid.
Well, they're going to look really. Have years left?
I think so.
The Georgia Tech transfer? I have no idea how old he is. I just know he's a transfer, so I don't know. But Dylan Stewart, you're either going to pay him. No, is revenue sharing next season?
No.
Does that start next season? Okay, never mind then.
Kennard's a fifth year. Yeah, never mind. Kennard's gone. Kennard's gone.
Kennard is gone. Yeah, Dylan Stewart is a freak show.
He said he's going to get 1.5 on the open market, which is nuts.
He demanded 1 to 1.5 from South Carolina. He was like, I'm not coming back if you don't give me this. And when I saw that, I was like, revenue sharing means the whole athletic department gets like $22 million, and he wants 1 to 1. Like
that's where
5% of the athletic department's budget.
No, I'm going to tell you right now. Right now, it's going to be real interesting because Kentucky, South Carolina's not in this. South Carolina's not going to max out. Kentucky will. Kentucky's going to have the max revenue share. So in 26, when revenue sharing kicks in, it's going to be real interesting because of that, right? So you basically have a whole nother NIL revenue stream on top of collectives that are going to basically be going out there. So Kentucky, I think, instantly becomes a little bit bigger players in the transfer portal market because of that.
South Carolina doesn't have 22 for the whole athletic department?
No. So it's based off it's based off of a percentage, right?
Well, the revenue sharing is the whole athletic department, though.
Correct.
When they make that a thing, that 23 million salary cap is everybody, not football.
That's the cap, but it doesn't mean you hit that much. It's a percentage of your overall athletic revenue. So if you are under that, you're going to be lower. So Kentucky is one of 4 teams, I think, in the SEC that maybe it's 6 that cap out. I don't believe South Carolina is that one. Alabama, LSU, yeah. Kentucky's athletic department generates a lot of effing money. So that's the aspect from that perspective where that will make it like there will be kind of SEC tiers in that, and I don't believe, like I said, I don't believe South Carolina was in that. I don't remember them seeing.
We have more money than South Carolina. I'm not saying you're wrong. That is shocking to me. If we were to have more money than South Carolina,
why?
But I guess it's possible. I don't see an SEC team struggling to get to 23 million like revenue sharing. I don't know. That seems like something South Carolina will be able to do. And there's only 4 teams in the SEC. Like, we're top 4 in revenue in the SEC?
I believe so.
I
really got to see if I can find this.
I would, if you had made me guess top 4 or bottom 4, I would have locked in bottom 4 1,000%. Maybe not bottom 4 because basketball makes more money than anywhere else, but I can't imagine that we make more money than Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida, A&M, LSU, Ole Miss, Auburn, Alabama.
So here it is. Kentucky in 2023, it was Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Texas, Florida, Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, South Carolina, Missouri, Mississippi, Mississippi State.
So how many of those teams are not getting to the 23?
I think Kentucky's the last one. Maybe.
Does that also? I'm just asking questions just to see. Does that account for money that used to get donated to the university that is now given to collectives going back to the university when revenue sharing becomes a thing?
I don't think so.
Because I think that will matter a lot. A lot of that money that the school used to get goes to the collective now, and a lot of that will go back to the school when the school is the one paying.
All right, revenue. Here's the revenue sharing. All right. It's 22% of net of it's 22% of revenue is what they can do. So in that case, the teams that will max the revenue out are Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, LSU, and Mississippi. I don't know how that's
fascinating. No Tennessee either. Well, unless I missed.
I lied. Oklahoma. No, South. Okay. What?
Did we get dated by the first?
Hold on. So if you're ranking it by terms of revenue, Kentucky would be Kentucky would be 5th, and then there's like in terms of estimated revenue sharing 2025. So Kentucky would be able to have that, but then the cap kicks in, I believe, is what they're saying. So there you go.
Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah, look, it is. Yeah.
I have an appointment soon.
Yeah. Well, it's good. Yeah. We'll talk about more stuff tomorrow. So,
whole lot more in depth Murray State. I cannot wait to read the numbers of what they're ranked in defense because it's absolutely hilarious.
Can we talk about where we rank on offense then too?
No, we cannot. Okay.